So many attempts to amend the Constitution failed without the support of the business sector. In the latest move of the House led by Speaker Feliciano Belmonte, the Philippine Business Group, composed of locals and foreigners, are strong advocates to amend restrictive provisions of the 1987 Charter. Now, why reforms at this time? How will it benefit the country? What provisions will enhance the country's competitiveness in a global economy? And joining us tonight is Mr. Julian Payne, President of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines. Good evening, sir, and welcome to NewsLife.
Yes, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. That was quite an interesting session this morning at the House of Representatives Committee. The Joint Foreign Chambers of Commerce, of which I was representing at that meeting, strongly supports Speaker Belmonte's proposals. Basically, what this does, as we understand it, is amend the Constitution so that Congress can decide what specific restrictions there should be and what restrictions can be changed. This would allow the country to respond very quickly to the rapid changes that are taking place both within the Philippines and also internationally. We have to be very, very nimble in the world today to take advantage of investment flows.
Sir, looking at this move by the lower house in moving to amend the 7 economic provisions, which are viewed as restrictive. Now, the Canadians doing business here, what is their perception in doing business here in the Philippines?
First of all, I think the general perception is the present administration has done a great job in certain areas, particularly in trying to clean up corruption. It's done a tremendous job in its macroeconomic management, the Department of Finance and the Central Bank. It's doing good work in trying to improve the business processes. There are still a lot of things to be done. International trade and foreign investment depends on many, many factors, not just these. One of them is the ease of foreign investment. And there's no question about it that there are many restrictions in the Constitution, more perhaps in this country than in other countries, and this is an impediment to some foreign investment. Obviously, all things being equal, countries will go where they can invest most easily. That's common sense.
Sir, could you give us a brief overview of industries Canadian businessmen are going into here in the Philippines, and what are their usual concerns when they try to start up a business here?
As you know, Canada has long been in the Philippines, over 100 years in the life insurance business, in the financial sector. We've also had in the past considerable involvement in the mining sector. We're involved in various service industries in the consulting industry. We did used to have a major bank here in the Philippines. Right now there is no major commercial bank based in the Philippines and operating in the Philippines. We certainly would like to see that change.
What kind of changes does the Canadian Chamber of Commerce see to be able to do business better here in the Philippines? What kind of changes in the economic amendments?
Well, a lot of the changes are in the process of being made. Efforts are being made to make business procedures more streamlined, less complex, fewer steps. This is really important. We also need to see some progress in the judicial sector. Business depends on a very, very well-performing judicial sector. It depends on there being clear decisions. It depends on decisions being consistent and over time and precedents being respected. It depends upon speedy decisions. And also, we see some evidence here, occasionally of, not occasionally, quite often, of businesses using the judiciary, for example, using TROs as basically business harassment techniques. And we think the judiciary has great challenges ahead of it. We think they're being addressed. But obviously, in the area of improving the situation in the Philippines for Canadian business, we're looking at anti-corruption efforts, we're looking at simplification of business, we're looking at sound economic management. All of these things are being addressed. We're also looking at easing restrictions on foreign investment and reforms in the judicial sector.
We've seen in a couple of years that the Philippines has really made great gains in economic standpoint. How are the Canadian foreign investors seeing it now? Are more Canadians putting their money here in the Philippines right now? Are they seeing the Philippines as a go-to point right now?
I think in the past there hasn't been a huge Canadian presence here. You've been dominated by other countries such as the United States, particularly given your history, and some other Asian countries. That is slowly changing. As you know, there's a huge migration from the Philippines to Canada. We have nearly, I think it's 800,000 Canadian residents in Canada from the Philippines. So the awareness of the Philippines is growing in Canada, and with that, we see over the longer term improved international trade, improved investment, and generally a much greater awareness of the Philippines. And that is the foundation of long-term economic cooperation. Basically, I think the Philippines is well perceived, but it's not as known as widely as it should be.
Do you see this as gaining in the future? Like what kinds of provisions do you deem important to actually cut the let's say cut the line so that more Canadian business actually flows here into the Philippines?
Well, I think one should reduce some of the restrictions on some sectors. Why one can't have foreign ownership, I don't know. In other countries like Hong Kong and Canada, we don't have restrictions. We allow foreign investment in there. The US allows foreign investment in virtually every sector, and it hasn't adversely affected that economy. In fact, the US, I think, is the largest recipient of foreign investment in the world, and it has one of the most open economies for foreign investment. We think that if you can open up the economy to the maximum extent possible in terms of foreign investment, the Philippines will benefit. It's not a zero-sum game. Foreign investment supplements national investment. It not only brings money, it brings in technology, it brings in training, it brings all sorts of benefits.
So now going back to the Philippines' economic standing today, it has improved its rankings and competitive in the World Economic Forum. So with the ease of doing business also in the President's leadership, it has restored confidence in the country as a destination for investments. Now, some sectors are saying, why go through this process in trying to amend the Constitution for these economic provisions when actually the Philippines is actually gaining momentum right now in its economic standing?
The government of the Philippines, the administration, has to be credited and praised for its efforts. And certainly foreign investment, foreign direct investment, which is the important investment, has increased significantly in the last recent years. But it's starting from a very low base. And compared with your neighboring countries, Thailand and in particular Vietnam, it is very low. Yes, we're improving. That's to the credit of the administration. But you need much more foreign investment. You need much more local investment. You need more investment to basically tackle the great challenge that faces this country, which is poverty reduction and high structural unemployment. You need manufacturing, you need more agribusiness, you need more mining, responsible, socially, environmentally responsible mining. You need investment that creates jobs, not just condo buildings.
So, and a final word from you?
I love living in the Philippines.
Okay, on that note, thank you very much for joining us here tonight at NewsLife. That was Mr. Julian Payne, President of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines. Thank you, sir.